Maya's hands trembled as she watched her sister Sarah collapse onto the hospital bed, her face pale as winter frost. The doctors had delivered the crushing news just hours before: stage 3 cancer, aggressive treatment needed immediately. Sarah's 5-year-old daughter Emma clung to her mother's hand, her wide brown eyes filled with confusion that would soon turn to heartbreak. In that sterile room that smelled of antiseptic and shattered dreams, Maya made a silent promise that would change 3 lives forever. She had no idea that her act of sisterly devotion would lead her straight into the arms of the most powerful man in Chicago, or that his own daughter would mistake her for the mother she'd been desperately searching for. Maya Rodriguez had always lived in the shadows of others' success. At 28, she worked double shifts at a downtown diner, her nursing degree collecting dust while she struggled to pay off student loans that seemed to multiply like weeds. Her modest apartment in Pilsen was a far cry from her sister Sarah's suburban home, but Maya had never envied her sister's marriage to a successful lawyer or her picture-perfect life. Family came first, it always had in the Rodriguez household. When Sarah's world crumbled with her diagnosis, Maya didn't hesitate. She quit her job, sold her car, and moved in to help care for Emma while Sarah underwent chemotherapy. The transition was brutal. Emma, who had never known want or struggle, suddenly found herself shuttled between hospital visits and a cramped apartment where cereal for dinner wasn't uncommon. "Why can't mommy come home?" Emma asked one evening, her small voice breaking as Maya tucked her into the fold-out couch that served as her bed. Maya smoothed Emma's dark curls, fighting back her own tears. "She's fighting really hard to get better, mija. We just have to be patient." But patience wore thin as medical bills mounted and Sarah's condition worsened. Maya took on cleaning jobs, working nights while Emma slept, her back aching and her hope dwindling. She'd given up everything, but it still wasn't enough. Everything changed on a rainy Tuesday morning at Millennium Park. Maya had taken Emma there to escape their cramped apartment, hoping the fresh air might lift both their spirits. They were feeding ducks by the pond when a commotion erupted near the playground. A little girl with platinum blonde hair was crying hysterically, calling for her daddy while a frazzled nanny ran circles around her. "I want my daddy. Where's my daddy?" the child wailed, her designer clothes soaked from the rain. Without thinking, Maya approached the scene. The nanny was clearly overwhelmed, talking rapidly into her phone while the little girl's sobs grew more desperate. "Hey there, sweetheart," Maya said gently, kneeling to the child's level. "What's your name?" "Sophia," the girl hiccuped, her blue eyes rimmed with tears. "I want my daddy. He was supposed to come, but he didn't." Maya's heart clenched. She recognized the abandonment in those eyes, the same look Emma had worn for weeks. "Well, Sophia, my name is Maya, and this is Emma. We were just feeding the ducks. Would you like to help us while we wait for your daddy?" Something magical happened then. Sophia's tears slowed as Maya produced breadcrumbs from her pocket. Emma, sensing another child's pain, took Sophia's hand and led her to the water's edge. For the next hour, Maya watched as the 2 girls laughed and played, their different worlds temporarily forgotten. When a black town car pulled up and a man in an expensive suit emerged, Maya expected Sophia to run to him. Instead, the little girl tightened her grip on Maya's hand. "Daddy, this is Maya," Sophia announced. "She helped me not be scared." The man who approached was devastatingly handsome in that polished way that spoke of money and power. His dark hair was perfectly styled despite the rain, and his gray eyes held a weariness that seemed at odds with his youth. He couldn't be much older than Maya herself. "I can't thank you enough," he said, his voice rough with emotion. "I'm Alexander Blackwood. I got held up in a meeting and..." He trailed off, his jaw tightening. This shouldn't have happened. Maya recognized the name. Everyone in Chicago knew Alexander Blackwood, CEO of Blackwood Industries, one of the city's most eligible bachelors. But looking at him now, she saw only a father struggling with guilt. "It's okay," Maya said simply. "Sometimes life gets complicated." Over the following weeks, their paths crossed again and again. Sophia's nanny quit after the park incident, and Alexander found himself constantly scrambling for childcare. Each time, Maya seemed to appear like a guardian angel: at the grocery store when Sophia had a meltdown, at the pediatrician's office when Alexander was called away for an emergency, at the school pickup when his assistant got the times wrong. "Why do you always help?" Alexander asked one evening after Maya had stayed late to help Sophia with a school project while he finished a conference call. Maya was cleaning up craft supplies, Emma already asleep on the couch in his penthouse living room. The question caught her off guard. Because that's what people do for each other, she said, not looking up from the glitter she was trying to sweep up. At least, that's what people should do. Alexander studied her profile in the lamplight. Maya Rodriguez was unlike any woman he'd ever known. She had no agenda, asked for nothing, and gave everything. Her second-hand clothes and calloused hands told a story of struggle, but her eyes held a warmth that all his money couldn't buy. "You're remarkable," he said quietly. Maya finally looked up, her cheeks flushing. "I'm just doing what anyone would do." "No," Alexander said, moving closer. "You're not." The air between them shifted, charged with possibility. But before anything could happen, Sophia appeared in the doorway, rubbing her sleepy eyes. "Maya," she said in a small voice. "Will you tuck me in? I had a bad dream about my mommy again." Maya's heart broke a little more. She'd learned that Sophia's mother had died in a car accident 2 years ago, leaving Alexander to raise their daughter alone while building his empire. The little girl was still processing her grief, still searching for the maternal comfort that had been ripped away. "Of course, sweetheart," Maya said, setting aside the cleaning supplies. As she tucked Sophia into her princess bed and sang a soft lullaby in Spanish, the same one she sang to Emma, Alexander watched from the doorway. His daughter hadn't let anyone else comfort her nightmares since her mother died. Something about Maya was healing them both. But their fragile happiness shattered 1 month later when Sarah took a turn for the worse. Maya rushed to the hospital, Emma in tow, leaving behind a confused Sophia and a frantic Alexander who couldn't understand why his lifeline had suddenly vanished. "She's not responding to treatment," the doctor told Maya in the hallway. "You should prepare Emma for the possibility that her mother might not recover." Maya sank into a plastic chair, the weight of responsibility crushing down on her. How do you tell a 5-year-old that her world is about to end? How do you keep breathing when everything you've sacrificed might not be enough? She was still there 6 hours later when Alexander found her. Somehow, he'd tracked her down through the few clues he had about her life. He took one look at her tear-stained face and sat down beside her without a word. "You don't have to say anything," he said quietly. "I'm here now." For the first time in months, Maya let herself lean on someone else. She told him everything, about Sarah's cancer, about the medical bills, about her fear that Emma would end up in foster care if the worst happened. Alexander listened without judgment, his hand warm and steady on her shoulder. "Let me help," he said when she finished. "You don't understand," Maya whispered. "I can't pay you back. I have nothing. You've given me everything," Alexander said, turning to face her fully. "You brought my daughter back to life. You showed me what it means to put family first. You've loved us when we didn't deserve it and asked for nothing in return." Before Maya could protest, he pulled out his phone and made a call. Within an hour, Sarah had been transferred to the best oncology unit in the city, with the top specialists consulting on her case. Alexander handled everything, the paperwork, the insurance battles, the impossible logistics that had been drowning Maya for months. "Why?" Maya asked through her tears. "Because this is what people do for each other," Alexander said, echoing her words from weeks before. "At least, this is what people should do." Sarah's recovery was slow but steady. The experimental treatment Alexander's connections had secured worked better than anyone had dared hope. During those long weeks of recovery, Maya found herself caught between two worlds, the hospital where her sister fought for her life, and the penthouse where Sophia and Emma had become inseparable sisters. It was Emma who noticed it first. "Sophia keeps calling you mommy when she's sleepy," Emma told Maya one evening as they walked through Lincoln Park Zoo. "Do you think she knows you're not her real mommy?" Maya's steps slowed. She had noticed Sophia's slip-ups too, the unconscious way the little girl reached for her hand, the automatic, "mommy," that escaped when she was hurt or excited. It broke her heart because she knew it was temporary. Once Sarah recovered, Maya and Emma would go back to their own life, leaving Alexander and Sophia to find their way without her. But fate had other plans. The moment that changed everything came on an ordinary Thursday evening. Sarah had been declared cancer-free and was finally coming home. Maya was in Alexander's kitchen, preparing what she thought would be her last dinner with his family, when Sophia ran in from school. "Mommy," Sophia called out, launching herself into Maya's arms. Guess what, Mrs. Peterson said we're having a family day at school, and I want you to come be my mommy. The kitchen fell silent. Alexander had just walked in, still in his suit from work, and heard every word. Emma stood frozen by the counter, understanding more than her 5 years should allow. Maya's eyes filled with tears as she looked at Sophia's hopeful face. Sweetheart, I'm not your mommy. You know that, right? But Sophia shook her head stubbornly. You take care of me when I'm sick. You make my favorite pancakes. You sing to me when I have bad dreams. Mommies do that. But your real mommy, Maya began. My real mommy is in heaven, Sophia said matter-of-factly. But you're my Earth mommy. Daddy said so. Maya's gaze flew to Alexander, who looked as stunned as she felt. When did I say that? He asked gently. When you were talking to Uncle James on the phone, Sophia said. You said Maya takes better care of us than anyone and that she's like a mommy to me. So she's my Earth mommy. The simple logic of a 6-year-old cut straight to the truth that the adults had been dancing around for months. In that moment, Maya realized that what had started as helping her sister had become something infinitely more precious. She hadn't just been caring for Alexander's daughter, she'd been building a family. Alexander crossed the room slowly, his eyes never leaving Maya's face. She's not wrong, he said quietly. About any of it. Alexander, Maya whispered, but he shook his head. I love you, he said simply. Not because you saved us, not because you're good with Sophia, but because you're you. You're brave and selfless and you see the best in everyone. You've shown me what it means to love without conditions. Maya felt her world tilting off its axis. But I'm nobody special. I clean houses and serve coffee and I don't have anything to offer someone like you. You have everything to offer, Alexander said, reaching for her hands. You have the biggest heart I've ever known. You've already been a mother to my daughter, a friend when I needed one most, and the love I thought I'd never find again. Around them, both little girls watched with wide eyes as their parents, for that's what they'd become without anyone noticing, finally acknowledged what had been growing between them all along. Will you marry my daddy? Sophia asked suddenly, breaking the tension. Because I really want you to be my Earth mommy forever. Emma giggled from her corner. Can I be your sister forever too? Maya looked around at the faces that had become her whole world. Sarah's recovery meant Emma would be okay, but it also meant Maya was free to choose her own path for the first time in her adult life. She could go back to nursing school, rebuild her career, start fresh. Or she could stay here, in this kitchen that smelled like home, with the man who saw her worth and the little girls who had already carved out permanent places in her heart. Yes, Maya whispered, and then louder, yes. Alexander's smile could have powered the entire city as he pulled her into his arms. Sophia cheered and Emma danced around them, both girls already planning their new life as sisters. 6 months later, at their wedding in a small chapel filled with sunlight and flowers, Sophia stood proudly as Maya's maid of honor while Emma scattered rose petals down the aisle. When the minister asked who gave this woman to be married, Sophia spoke up in her clear voice. Her Earth daughter does. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. Maya Rodriguez Blackwood had started out just helping her sister. She'd ended up finding a family that chose her just as fiercely as she'd chosen them. Sometimes the greatest acts of love begin with the smallest gestures of kindness, rippling outward until they transform not just one life, but many. And sometimes, when you give everything you have to help someone else, the universe finds a way to give you everything you never dared to dream of in return.